So, the latest suspect test in Gen 9 overused. Kingambit is now getting suspect tested, as I think a lot of you already know. I quickly want to give my opinion on this Pokemon, if it should get banned or not. Quickly, let's go over what makes this Pokemon a problem. I already made a whole video about why Kingambit is as good as it is. You can check it out in the description if you would like. But quickly gonna highlight the points that make this Pokemon just a little too much. Now, of course, its stats are something that should be mentioned. It has a great attack stat and insane bulk. This allows to easily set up with a Swords Dance, which can make it very powerful, especially since it does have a great defensive typing and offensive typing alike, and it has a solid move pool. It is very slow, but it doesn't matter because it has a very strong priority Sucker Punch, so that speed stat doesn't really matter that much. You can just invest most of your EVs in bulk, and you would still be fine. Of course, Supreme Overlord is another big thing of this Pokemon. This Pokemon is basically you get rewarded for playing bad. If your team dies, this Pokemon gets stronger. This makes it very easy to to reverse sweep teams, even in 1v6 scenarios. There have been many moments. I've seen it myself. I've done it myself. You can 1v6 a team with Kingambit. It's pretty doable. However, I think that it's only doable, and I do think, I want to stress this point, I think that Kingambit is able to do all of this because of terrestrialization. Terrestrialization, it has been a controversial mechanic for a while now. It almost got banned early on in the generation, or not banned, but potentially banned, but at least it would have been some action taken against it. However, right now, I think the fact that Kingambit has a lot of Terra types it can use, and the fact that it can just get rid of its weaknesses with Terra Flying, with Terra Fairy, those are the most common Terra types as of right now. This makes this Pokemon very easy to set up with. It doesn't matter that you have a Great Tusk or Eye Variant, which are both two of the most used Pokemon in the tier right now, by the way. It doesn't matter that you have those. Even if you know that Kingambit's going to terrestrialize, it's gonna terrestrialize, but you can't do shit about it. Predict the Terra Flying with Great Touch, you go for Ice Spinner. How much you gonna do? 40%? Yeah, it just sets up with Swords Dance anyway. Iron Valiant, maybe you have Thunderbolt. But maybe that does 50% or something. I'm pretty sure it doesn't even 2-hit KO. So even though you know it's gonna terrestrialize, you cannot do anything. If it did not have terrestrialization, you could easily take advantage of its typing. It's weak to ground and fight, two very common offensive typings. It's weak to fire as well, and it can be burned because it is slow. So most Pokemon with Will-O-Wisp are gonna just be able to outspeed it. But it can use Terra Fire to patch up that as well. And I do think that terrestrialization should have been suspect tested first. I think it's not fair to suspect test Kingambit before terrestrialization. I think the same goes for Volcarona. And I really don't want another Pokemon to get banned just because of how terrestrialization is being handled, or not being handled, how the current state of terrestrialization is in the tier right now. Now, I'm not saying that Kingambit is not a strong Pokemon. Without Terra, it still is. But this Terra just gives it too many free opportunities it otherwise would not be able to get. With that being said, that is one reason I don't think Kingambit should be banned. Second reason is I think Kingambit is a pretty healthy presence in the meta. Well, Kingambit is able to easily sweep teams. It's also one of the better ghost switchings in the tier right now. Aside from a very good sweeper, this Pokemon can do a lot of things for your team. It's a good check, like I said, to common ghost types like Dragapult and Golden Go. It's also a very good check to offensive teams, which I think are very good right now. The meta is very fast paced. There are a lot of very fast Pokemon in the tier. Kingambit can easily take care of that with Sucker Punch, and it's also very bulky, so it can pretty much beat any offensive threat one-on-one, and I do think that's important. you use Kingambit, you have pretty much all of these things in one slot. You have a sweeper, you have a early game wall breaker, you have a check to ghost types, and you have a revenge killer. So Kingambit, it does a lot of things for you, and I think banning this, I really don't want Kingambit. I don't know what's gonna happen to Dragon Ball and Golden Go if this Pokemon does get banned, because this is one of the better checks to them. Also, counterplay to Kingambit does exist, but it just depends on the Terra type. For example, Dondozo could easily check Kingambit, but if it's Terra Dark, it no longer can. I would say that every Terra type does require a different counter to some degree. But if, you know, Terra types were visible in the team preview, you at least know what Kingambit is gonna terrestrialize into, so you can keep that in the back of your mind. Now, of course, this also creates mind games, but that's a whole other thing. Also, if you want to see, these are the Terra type matchups of Kingambit. So basically the different Terra types it can use to flip the matchup against Pokemon. I'm not gonna read through this. You can pause the video and read through yourself. I will also link the post in the description if you do want to read the whole thing for yourself. Now, another thing I want to mention is that, you know, a lot of checks to Kingambit are actually fairly common. You know, let me name a couple. I already mentioned Great Tusk, Iron Valiant. You have Cinderace, Ting Lu, Landorus T, Dondozo. Already mentioned Samus Anti-Hero. Now Corviknight. Yeah, Corviknight's kind of a check, I would say too. And those are just a couple. Heatrans, a pretty good check. Moltres. So there is a lot of counterplay to this Pokemon. Also, Rotom Wash is also a pretty good check. The thing is, just Terra allows it to flip the matchup on all these Pokemon, and it just depends on the Terra type. And that's really the main point I want to get across. Terrestrialization is just, I think, pushing this Pokemon just a little above of being able to handle it. And I am just gonna reiterate the point. I think Terra should have been suspect tested before Kingambit. Now, another point I want to make is that we can ban Kingambit, but what's next? I don't think that banning Kingambit, this is gonna be the last ban if we do end up banning this. I would even say that because of terrestrialization, Kingambit is one of the better checks to Iron Valiant. So now Iron Valiant, Dragon Ball, Golden Go are gonna be running rampant. Excalibur is also, you know, has an easier time as, you know, Sucker Punch cannot KO it anymore as a priority move. So that's really the point too. Where does it stop? We have already had a lot of bans in the past. I do agree with most of them. I think Volcarona is still a pretty controversial one. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say about Kingambit, my takes on the suspect test to, you know, TLDR. I don't agree with the suspect test as of right now. I think Terra should have been first, after that Kingambit. And I do think there's a lot of checks to it that are also very common. But like I said, terrestrialization just makes these checks unreliable. And I think Kingambit is a very good check to a lot of broken stuff in the meta right now too. So those are my main points about Kingambit, why I don't think it should be banned. You know, let me know down below. Do you think Kingambit should be banned? You know, whatever. Let me know your opinions. I would say thank you for watching and see you next time.